Section 1.2, evaluating expressions. We're going to do this in small little chunks because it's very basic stuff. Only want you to have to watch the part that you need. So first we're just going to talk about what's an expression. We've got all different types of expressions, and some of them are variable expressions. They have variables in them. Some are just numeric expressions. The numeric ones we could evaluate right now. The algebraic ones, the ones that have variables in them, we can't evaluate unless someone tells us what the variable is with. Some of them we could simplify. The ones I gave you here, they're already simplified. We couldn't do anything more to them. The only thing we could do is if we decided a value we wanted to use for x or y, then we could plug them in and then do the math. Equations. What's the difference between expressions and equations? Equations have an equal sign. So we have algebraic equations. These have one variable. We could solve them. They have one answer. That one answer could be graphed on a number line. We have equations with more than one variable. This is the type we saw a lot in Algebra 1 and in geometry as well. So this would be the equation of a line. For each x value, we would have a y value. So there would be an infinite number of solutions, not just one. And those infinite number of solutions could be graphed as a line, a coordinate plane. There are other graphs of an x-y function, or that could have an exponent that would generate a quadratic or a cubic. So we'll see more of those this year, but that's a basic one. And then we can also just have plain old numeric equations. That one happens to be a true equation. This one happens to be a false equation. It's still an equation because it's got an equal sign. Order of operations, again, basic building block. I shouldn't hear, oh, we had to use the order of operations. People tend to think of it as PEMDAS, right? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses is the most misused or misunderstood part because people don't remember necessarily that it's do what's inside the parentheses. That doesn't mean the multiplication, right? Parentheses, think about what purpose they're serving. So we'll talk about that a little more in a second. When I write it like this with multiplication and division next to each other to remind you that they're at the same level. You do whichever's on the left. Same with addition and subtraction. Do whatever comes first. But I don't use P. I use G. And the reason I use G is for grouping symbols. Grouping symbols encompasses a little bit more, right? So that fraction bar is the grouping symbol that we see and we tend to forget is a grouping symbol. If I have something like this, it's really saying the same thing as that fraction bar is acting as a grouping symbol that's really kind of like two sets of parentheses, right? So when you think order of operations, think grouping symbols. And don't forget the fraction bar.